Okay. Hey, I'm sharing my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you could see the screen or comment can see it. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Anastasia. Okay, you guys. Well, welcome to today's webinar, From Idea to Income, Your Next Side Hustle. Now, this webinar is part of my Momentum Monday series where I'm pretty much doing free webinars every Monday, well, every other Monday from now to the end of the year. I'll share at the very end some upcoming webinars if you're interested in hopping on. But this is one I am so excited to share, and we actually got quite a few registrants for this. I know a lot of you will be watching this on replay. I'm so grateful for those of you who are live. I will be doing Q&A at the end, but this also will be sent out to you as a replay. So, for those who don't know me, my name's Katie. I'll be sharing a little bit more of my story, but I see a lot of you who I don't recognize your name. So I'd love to know where you live and what your profession is. I think most of you are dietitians, but sometimes we get some other healthcare professionals in the group. So go ahead and put in the chat where you're from and what your profession is. So what we'll be covering today. A little bit of introduction. I'm going to share a little bit of my side hustle story. We're going to talk about what a side hustle is, why start a side hustle, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of different side hustle ideas. We're going to dive into steps to getting started because learning about, oh, I can do this is cool, but learning how to do it's even better. I'm going to share a worksheet I've created called the Getting Started Worksheet. I've got some final tips. We're going to wrap things up, and then I'm going to be talking to you about being a dietitian side hustle insider, which is completely free. It's just being part of my book launch because I have written a book. I'll tell you more about it. So I see that we have, oh, thanks for commenting, guys. We have Jenna, Philly suburbs dietitian, Brianna, Chicago, campus dietitian, not Chicago. Where did my brain read that? Michigan, campus dietitian. Celine, dietitian from Seattle. Okay. I'm in Oregon, just so you guys know. So I'm Pacific Northwest as well. Malata, dietitian from Florida. I will actually be in Florida next week in the Clearwater area. We have dietitian in New York. We have Virginia, bariatric dietitian. Awesome. So good to see you guys on. And hey, Becky, I know you. See, maybe when my brain said Chicago, it's because I saw your name pop up. Okay, so a little bit more about me. My name is Katie Dodd, and I have been a side hustler for a long time, but about 4 years ago, I became a full hustler, which simply means I took my side hustles and turned it into a full-time gig, quit my full-time job. So I am the owner of Katie Dodd Nutrition, and as an entrepreneur, I wear many hats. I run the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast, website, Facebook group, and now book. I run the Geriatric Dietitian blog, the High Calorie Recipes blog. I'm a blogger, speaker, mentor, and leader in the field. So, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a story about really my side hustle journey and why I'm so obsessed with side hustles and kind of have built my career around it. So, my story goes back to how I first got into the world of side hustling. Now, when I was an undergrad, I went to California State University, Chico. I went to grad school at California or at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, and I was always into volunteering. I volunteered a lot. And I think as students, we're kind of taught volunteer a lot. You got to build up your resume. Internships are competitive, jobs are competitive. So my brain was so focused on I have to volunteer to build up my resume so that way I can get opportunities. As I became a dietitian, got my first job working for the VA doing home care, great job, but I still had that volunteer mindset. I still volunteered like crazy within the profession of dietetics. And that volunteering brought me to FNCE, the Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo in Texas. Now, I was volunteering on a board. I can't remember which one right now. It was probably the Healthy Aging Dietetic Practice Group. And one of the things about volunteering on certain boards is that they'll often help you pay to go to events like FNCE. So I was at FNCE and I met a dietitian when I was on the expo floor. Has anyone been to FNCE? Comment FNCE if you've ever been. There are so many people, thousands and thousands of people. But I met a dietitian on the expo floor who happened to live in the same small town in Southern Oregon that I lived in. And that was kind of cool because pretty much no one in Southern Oregon goes to these events other than me. And so when I met her, it was a great connection, but because there's so many thousands of people, I see several of you have been to Fancy. So you know, you meet so many people, you just kind of forget. So in order to get from Texas to Oregon, it takes me 2 flights to get home. And I remember being in the airport, I think we were going to Denver, and we were still in Texas, and I see this lady. And I can't quite put my finger on where do I recognize her from? Well, she's probably a dietitian because we're everywhere right now. But I just remember looking at her like, who is this lady? We fly into Denver. It's the next flight. She's getting on my flight too. I'm looking at this lady. I could see her side eyeing me, and I'm like, how do I know this lady? I get on the plane, take a seat, window seat, and sure enough, this lady that I've seen a couple different states, I've been staring at, who's this lady, sits right next to me on the plane. And this is how my side hustle journey happens. I sat next to a dietitian on a plane. Her name was Dale, and she happened to run a continuing education company that she started in the 1980s called Nutrition Dimensions. She transitioned it to an online program, and by the time I met her, she'd actually sold her company. And as I'm talking to Dale, I am so blown away of this business that she created as an entrepreneur. And I told her, hey, Dale, can I volunteer for you? Because remember, I had a volunteer problem because I wanted to get better at writing. And I was like, what better way to get better at writing than learn from a dietitian who this is what she does? She writes continuing education papers. So she gave me her business card and said, okay, Katie, email me next week. I did. And she happened to see that I'm a board certified specialist in gerontological nutrition, which simply means I specialize in geriatrics. She needed someone to write a paper related to geriatrics. So she said, hey, Katie, will you update this continuing education paper for me? Of course, I said yes. I was going to get good experience. Then she sent me a contract, and it included terms of payment. And I know this sounds so ridiculous, but I was so focused on volunteering, it didn't even cross my mind that I could get paid to do the things that I love. So this started a journey for me. I worked for Dale's company for years. It was a great side hustle. I didn't mention I'm a mom of two kids. So this gave me the flexibility to work on, essentially freelance writing when the kids were asleep or napping or whatever times it might look like. And after that, I kind of got on this mission of like, who else will give me money to use my talents? So from there, in addition to freelance writing, I started writing for other brands and companies. I started doing webinars. I started doing a little bit of brand work and was just on this mission of like, who else will pay me money? Now, in the season, it was also a blessing because I mentioned being a mom. And we also know that sometimes we get into the real world and we're like, daycare was more than my mortgage when I had two kids in daycare. And a side hustle gave me the opportunity of being able to have some more wiggle room and not feel so broken like I was living paycheck to paycheck. And it also helped me with my daughter to have 4 months of unpaid maternity leave. So this is where my side hustle starts. My side hustle journey starts is that I sat next to a dietitian on the plane, fell into the world of entrepreneurship. But I will tell you, at this point, I still didn't identify as an entrepreneur. I thought that entrepreneurs worked with patients, and I had no interest working with patients. I work with them in my job at the VA, and I just didn't want to do it outside of my job. I'm kind of an introvert, calling people on the phone, scheduling, charting, insurance. That sounded miserable to me. Now, I know some of you love that and it lights you up, but it did not for me. So it took me a long time to identify that I was an entrepreneur and to realize that there are lots of things that we can do as a dietitian to make impact and income. Now, in 2019, I discovered the world of blogging. Now, I have a whole other webinar coming up in 2 weeks if you want to learn more about how in the heck you make money through blogging. But in June of 2019, I started a blog called The Geriatric Dietitian. And the big shift here was up until this point, I was side hustling working for other people. I was trading my time and my talents building someone else's dreams, where now I shifted and I was using my time and my talents to build my own dream. So I continued to build up this blog, and I'm not going to go into all the details of how a blog makes money, but the blog started making money and it started making good money. Now, towards the end of 2019, I am like knee deep in entrepreneurship. I have drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm like, this is amazing. And I started a podcast called Dietitian Side Hustle because I wanted to share with anyone I could reach about all of the cool things that we could do outside of just working with patients. So I started this podcast at the end of 2019, and I'm going to fast forward in my story just for sake of time because I want to dive into all the cool side hustles you guys could be doing. But I'm going to fast forward and go to the point where I started diving into the business coaching world. Found a business coach. He's a physical therapist named Greg Todd, and he helped me to take my side hustle to the next level. Now, this picture, I'm actually at a conference. I'm right there in the middle, only dietitian on the stage, mostly PTs, OTs, and my business coach. This is Greg right here on the left. And this was in 2022. And at this particular event, I joined a high-level business mastermind. And so what that meant is it cost a lot of money and it included quarterly meetings in person. Now, this picture right here, I super love. It's a big part of my story. There's lots of pictures I love because they're part of the story, but this particular one, at my very first in-person mastermind event in 2022, we were in Orlando, Florida, and we all had an ask for the group. My ask was, how can I continue serving dietitians better? And what every single person told me was, you need to quit your job. And I remember feeling so offended because I was a side hustler. That was my brand, that was my identity. And did they not know all the reasons why I could not possibly leave my job? But I was so fortunate to be in the room with people who believed in me and saw something I did not see in myself. And one by one, they were able to lovingly remove limiting beliefs that I had. Now, working at the VA, I was making six figures and I wasn't managing programs or humans. That wasn't that common back then. And they told me, you know what? You can make even more money as an entrepreneur. I had really good health care at the VA. Told me, Katie, you could buy your own health care. You guys, I have a pension. No one has pensions. Katie, you don't need a pension. You can make your own wealth. And so even though I didn't say it that day, I made a decision that 2021, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's 2021. I mixed up a year. I made a decision that 2021 would be the last year I ever worked at the VA. Now, this particular picture was at the end of August. We had like 4 months left before the end of the year. And at this time, I'm side hustling. I'm going through my story quick. So I'm making lots of income through multiple streams of income. But being in this mastermind, being around people who believed in me, being in the right rooms with the right people, I continued to just level up and grow. And then in December of 2021, I did something I never thought I would do. I turned in my letter of resignation for a lovely job working for the Department of Veteran Affairs. After I turned in my letter of resignation, I asked my boss to take a selfie with me, and I'm so glad I did because I love this picture. This picture right here is December 29th, 2021. It's the last day I ever worked at the VA. And this picture right here is one that I love, and this is a picture of me dropping off my kids for the first time as a full-time entrepreneur. So I started as a side hustler, I became a full hustler, and now I get to be present with my kids and share with dietitians all of the cool things that they can do through the side hustle world. So let's dive in. I truly believe that each and every one of you has an idea in your brain, a dream in your heart, and if we could just get it out into the world would be radically changed by it because dietitians are world changers. So let's dive in and talk about side hustles. First question, what is a side hustle? So actually, I Googled this a long time ago and I like the definition. A side hustle is any type of employment undertaken in addition to one's full-time job. A side hustle is generally freelance or piecework in nature, providing supplemental income. Side hustles are typically are often things a person's passionate about rather than a typical day job worked in order to make ends meet. So when I talk about side hustle, I think of it as an additional stream of income. It's something that you're doing outside of a traditional job, whether or not it's a full-time job or multiple part-time jobs or PRN. Oftentimes, a traditional job is worked in order to make ends meet. It's a job that was available when you needed the job. It's somewhere you wanted to live. The pay is good enough, healthcare insurance, all those benefits to meet your family's needs. So a side hustle is anything outside of traditional employment. So let's talk about why you might want to start a side hustle. So I think the way I want to preface this particular slide is it really doesn't matter. Whatever your reason for why, it is good enough. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. This is your life, this is your journey, and all of these reasons are okay. Now, I know many dietitians, they just want to make some extra income on the side. They want to have a little more breathing room, like maybe like I was years ago, tired of living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you want to eventually transition out of your traditional job. You want to become a full hustler, as I call it. And, some dietitians, they just have a lot of high tolerance for risk. They're like, I'm just going to quit my job and start a business. Others, maybe want to start a side hustle. They want to build it up and then eventually leave their job. Starting a side hustle could also be an area you're passionate about. So many of us went to school to become a dietitian for a reason. We had a passion behind this. And maybe the way the cards life has dealt us, we're working a job that we don't entirely love. Grateful for, good job, good benefits, but it doesn't light us up. This was not the reason we became a dietitian. So sometimes the side hustle can help fulfill that passionate piece, get you excited about the field again. You're working the other job to make ends meet, but this is really your passion project. Also, if you're bored and not engaged in your full-time job, that kind of ties in with the last one. And also, quite frankly, a side hustle is just fun and you could use it to live out your dreams. For me, I volunteered for a long time, but when I realized I can do the work I love and make money, it was even better. So I'm going to start with a little bit of mindset and then we're going to go into tons of different side hustle ideas. But one of the things I always like to start with when I talk about side hustles is why. We start with why. Why do you want to start a side hustle? I gave some examples here, but the why I always encourage people to think about is what is that deeper reason that you want to do this? Most of you work full-time jobs or multiple part-time jobs or even just a part-time job. Many of you are parents. You guys have a life outside of the hustle, and adding a side hustle is extra time, right? And life is busy for all of us. Lives. Sometimes things we don't expect to happen do happen. Health, finances, relationships, things just happen. And if we don't have a strong foundation and a strong why, then starting a side hustle will not be successful long term. So I always start with why because our whys have to be stronger than distractions that will come our way, derailment that often happens with life, but then also disappointment when things don't go the way we thought they would. Because, I'm not going to do a deep dive into business here, but oftentimes we have a vision of what we think things are going to look like, and the journey often looks different. So, really, the why is based in having a strong desire, making a decision, creating a plan. And I often say this, some people, they have a strong why and they burn the bridges behind them because there's no looking back because they're so committed to what they're doing. But let's go on to the next slide. So I want to talk about mindset because of the reasons I've mentioned about how it can be so easy to be taken out on this journey of like, I'm going to start a side hustle, but then things get busy, things don't go the way you thought they would. And one of the things that I've learned on my own journey is that mindset is everything. We often think the things will take us out are external, but often, most often, it's internal. It's a battle of you versus you. Napoleon Hill says, your only limitation is the one which you set up in your own mind. Your only limitation is the one which you set up in your own mind. Now, I love cheesy quotes. What you believe you will achieve. This can be true whether it's positive or negative. If you move forward thinking, I am going to totally do the side hustle and I'm going to crush it, 100% you're right. The journey might look different. It might be longer. It might be shorter. It might, again, be different. But if you believe you can do something, I believe you will. Where if you approach it with a negative mindset of like, I'm just too busy for this. I don't have time. I always fail. Things never work for me. And if that's the perspective you have, you're probably right too, because what we believe we will achieve. So one of the best things that you could do now and moving forward is continuing to work on your mindset because it will determine your success. Another Napoleon Hill quote, if you can't notice, I love him. Be careful what you set upon your heart, for it will surely come true. So now we're at the meat and potatoes of side hustles. And I'm just going to read this quickly and then I'm going to break it down more as I go through each slide because every single one of these is dedicated to a slide. And we're going to move through them at a decent pace. We will have plenty of time for questions at the end. I'll stay on until everyone's questions are answered. So these are just some side hustle ideas. Freelance writing, webinars, live speaking engagements, one-on-one patient care, blogging, teaching, cooking classes, podcasting, working with brands, being a virtual assistant, being an influencer, coaching, grocery store tours, culinary work, selling physical goods, selling digital goods, selling books on Amazon, direct sales, affiliate marketing, and quite frankly, anything. So I'm going to go through again, all of these have a slide and I'm going to talk in more detail. And my hope is as you're listening, look for something that kind of jumps off the screen at you of like, oh, that's interesting. I'd be interested in that. I never thought of this as a potential side hustle. So just look for something that really sparks your interest or something that maybe you've never even thought of before. So first off, freelance writing. For years, this was actually one of the top side hustles among my community. It shifted a little bit over time, but still a wonderful side hustle. So freelance writing could include lots of things. This is where you're hired as a freelancer to write for other people's organizations. This might include writing blog articles, writing articles for magazines, doing copywriting, and an example of this would be like I had a copywriting gig where I actually wrote the copy, the sales copy for a posting for a supplement on Amazon. So it was more like the sales copy of here's the benefits of this product. And it was more a little bit different than like a blog article. You could also do CPE articles. You could do editing, and this can be like content editing. Sometimes you'll get hired to, hey, we had a freelancer write this. Can you, as the registered dietitian, fact check it? Is anything missing? Is anything correct? Is there anything we need to add to it? It could also look like technical editing. And I have etc. here because honestly, anytime you see words written, this could potentially be an opportunity to be hired as a freelance writer. And one thing I didn't mention here is that I did put little stars on the side hustles that I have direct experience with if you guys have specific questions at the end. So next we have webinars, and this is a webinar right now. It's a free one, it's not paid, but there are opportunities for you as a side hustler to get paid to do webinars. So you can do webinars live or on demand, meaning it's recorded once and then people can continue to buy it, one and done. They can be self-hosted, where you host your own webinars and people pay you directly. You could also work with associations or businesses. A business that I've often done webinars for is a company called Dietitian Central. They have an audience, they have a platform, and I just show up and I teach. And I actually make money for live webinars, and I do get money for the on demand too. So, webinars are a great way to share your expertise and make money. And the nice thing about webinars is they're kind of one off. You know, you could do one, you could do multiple, you could really do whatever you want with webinars. And I do want to mention associations. So, with this slide and the next one, which is live speaking engagements, I want you to think not just about our field of dietetics. Well, let's think of our field of dietetics. We have FNCE. That's a big conference. You can get paid to speak there. Today's Dietitian Symposium. They're wonderful to speak for. You can get paid to speak with them. But then think of all the states who have conferences for dietitians. You can get paid to speak there. And some bigger states have local groups that will pay you for speakers. But then think outside of our field. Think of all the different allied healthcare professions that have similar structure, national conferences, state conferences, local events, and all healthcare professionals could benefit from what we do as dietitians. And then even thinking a step further, think of the other groups that might be related to what it is that you do. For example, as a geriatric dietitian, there might be groups like the area agency on aging, or even like adult foster homes or assisted living facility groups. So really, when we start thinking of the opportunities for webinars and live speaking engagements, the list can be quite large. So again, I know I'm jumping to this, but live speaking engagements, I remember when I started this brand, it was like 2019 and then the pandemic happened. So I didn't talk about live speaking engagements for a while because it wasn't a thing for a couple of years, but now we're back. And so you could speak at conferences, you could speak at schools, libraries. Oftentimes local libraries will have a budget to bring in speakers. Local parks and recreation too often have budgets too to hire speakers. And then also with businesses as part of corporate wellness. So next we have patient care, and patient care could look like lots of different things. You could have your own private practice. You could be, independent where you have your own practice. You can pair up with a provider and maybe seek patients out of their clinic. You can connect with a facility. And now I actually don't have this on the slide because these slides are a little bit older, but now we actually have different platforms that you can join like Nourish or Berry Street where they actually provide the clients. So that is a totally legit option for working with patients, and it could be in person or telehealth, of course. So next we have blogging. I'm not going to dive into too much about how to make money blogging. Again, quick plug, in 2 weeks I am doing a webinar on how to make money blogging. You can go to katiedodd.com to sign up. But I make money through my blog, through advertising. You can make money through sponsored posts. You could have membership websites, and there's lots of other ways like selling digital products, affiliate sales, like the list goes on and on. Honestly, every single one of these side hustles can be paired with a blog. So next we have teaching, and this kind of ties in line with, the webinars and in-person speaking, but this is more specific to teaching, for example, with colleges. Your side hustle might be every Wednesday night. You drive down to the local community college and you teach a nutrition class. You could also do online education with universities or other online programs. Now, keep in mind you might have different requirements for your credential. You might either need a master's or the PhD, depending on the level that they're hiring. So teaching can be a good option for side hustles. In line with teaching is cooking classes. I think sometimes we don't realize as dietitians how we have a whole skill set that not everyone has. So most of us in school, we took classes on cooking. We were in the food lab, and not every dietitian's big into cooking, but we have the basics, right? And some of you love to cook and are quite good at it. So your side hustle could be cooking classes. You could do cooking classes at health fairs, farmers markets, grocery stores, through parks and recreation, or even with businesses as part of a corporate wellness program. You could be a podcaster, and people often ask, how do you make money podcasting? Is typically one of two ways: having a sponsor, and if you've ever listened to podcasts, oftentimes at the beginning, middle, or end, or all three spots, you'll hear something saying like, this episode is brought to you by, or here's a special offer for our listeners, thanks to whatever the brand is. But one of the best ways a lead magnet can make you money is a podcast can make you money is serving as a lead magnet. And what that means, people listen to your podcast, they get free content, they get to know, like, and trust you. And then from the podcast, you lead them to other things that you offer, whether or not it's services or content. If you've ever listened to my podcast, Dietitian Side Hustle, I almost always end it with, to learn more about all the ways we could work together, go to katiedodd.com, which is just my Linktree page. So there's always different links on it. So you can make money through podcasting by working with sponsors or using it as a lead magnet to send people to your other things that you sell. You could also work with brands. There's all kinds of ways to work with brands. It could look like sponsored posts. So you could have your own blog and you get paid by a brand to feature them on your own post or social media. You can get connected for like networking, where you're kind of a connector of a brand to people or a brand to other dietitians. You could do media work. You could help create newsletters and email content, or even get hired to do different projects. I remember I got hired by Kodiak Cakes years ago because they're wanting to know about what are ingredients we should never include in our products. I've done other brand work, doing webinars, and I feel like this bucket is just very broad, but there are brands who want to work with professionals with expertise and influence. So the next one on our list is being a virtual assistant. So as a virtual assistant, you could work independently where you have your own kind of like practice where you are a VA for other dietitians or other healthcare professionals, or quite frankly, anyone. Or you could pair up with a virtual assistant company and they do the marketing to team you up with people who need your services. Now, what a VA does varies pretty greatly. VAs could be doing content creation, customer support, data collection, or other tasks as applicable. It really just depends on the needs of the person hiring you. But being a VA is a pretty cool dietitian side hustle, especially if you're just getting started in the world of business. Because if you could be a VA for a dietitian entrepreneur, you can kind of learn the inside scoop of business while getting paid and helping them. So the next one on our list is being an influencer. And I feel like this one can kind of be controversial, but I'm just a big advocate of you got to do you, whatever works best for you. An influencer is someone who might be a big YouTuber. They might be big on social media, TikTok, Instagram. They have a big following. They could be a spokesperson. They make money by working with brands. They make money by selling their own merchandise or their own products. But one of the things about influencers, love it or hate it, people listen to them. And quite frankly, I would prefer a registered dietitian who has the expertise and knows what they're talking about, being the one to build a massive following online and having people listen to them as the influencer. Because quite frankly, influencers make a lot of money, and I want to see the public get correct information and the dietitians as the one making the money. So, while not for everyone, if you have this little inkling in your heart of like, I just really want to build up my TikTok and be an influencer, totally legit side hustle. So next we have coaching. And coaching could look like several things. This could look like doing nutrition coaching, so not medical nutrition therapy, but more being a coach. It could look like health coaching. It could look like coaching other students to pass the RD exam. It could look like coaching other dietitians to maybe pass a specialty exam, or to, have career coaching to move up in their career, or whatever it looks like. So next we have grocery store tours, and this could look like showing people how to shop the grocery store, whether or not it's in general or specific for maybe a medical condition they have. And you could do this by teaming up with grocery stores, businesses as part of a corporate wellness program, or through your own program. It could be something you do in person or virtually. Next, we have culinary work. And again, not every dietitian loves food, but I feel like most of us do. So this could look like recipe development, food photography, food blogging. It could even look like nutrient analysis or creating labels and information for brands or businesses. So next we have selling physical goods, and these are physical goods that you've created, whether or not it's a food product you made, a supplement that you've created, maybe books that you've written, or swag. For example, I know dietitians that sell t-shirts or coffee mugs or stickers. It's selling something physically that someone gets to hold in their own hands. Next, we have selling digital goods. So this is not physical, it's all digital, but these are still things you created. These could be handouts that you've created. These could be a course that you created, which has like videos and like usually written content, maybe some handouts in there. It could look like a toolkit. It could look like ebooks. It's something that provides value that someone gets digitally. Now, this is kind of a blend of the digital and physical. And so this is something you create digitally, but then people get physically. And this is selling books on Amazon through Kindle Direct Publishing. And so this can look like a couple of things. It could look like selling what we call low content books. These are journals, planners, or coloring books that you can create. They usually don't take a ton of time because usually the pages are pretty darn similar. Like maybe you want to create a journal where someone can log maybe what they're eating or even their emotions with eating or even their labs, whatever it is that you want to log, and it's something that you can create if it serves your clients. You could also sell cookbooks or manuscripts, which are full-on books, which I'll share with you guys soon since I've written one. Next is direct sales. And direct sales, there's lots of different direct sales companies out there. I'm sure we could think of like the old ones of like Avon and Tupperware. Like those are some of the classic ones that have been around for a long time. So there are all kinds of different direct sales companies in the fitness space and the wellness space and the supplement space and really anything. And one of the nice things about direct sales is that when you sign up, of course, you have to find the right one for you, something that fits and complements what it is you love and do. But they often provide training and resources to help with the marketing and sales, which is like always the hardest part of any side hustle. And for most of them, you don't even need to have things like in stock. It ships directly to clients. So I know dietitians who've teamed up with direct sales companies that provide skincare products, which can combine with, good nutrition, hydration, and then skincare products. Dietitians who sell supplements that they use and believe in and love. So direct sales can be a legit side hustle for you to start. So next we have affiliate marketing. And affiliate marketing is where you sell something someone else created. I know I was emphasizing before, selling. Oh, did I leave? Am I still here, guys? My computer just did something funky on me. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Thanks, Jenna. Whew. It's like, oh no, my internet. Okay, everything on the screen just went black. So I've been emphasizing before stuff you created. Affiliate marketing is where you're selling stuff someone else made. And so this could look like lots of different things. This could be maybe you're selling and promoting someone else's course, maybe software or different platforms, digital products, physical products. A common example of this would be Amazon affiliates. It's Amazon's affiliate marketing program where, for example, as a blogger on the geriatric dietitian, maybe have an article talking about different protein powder options. To make it easier for my clients, I include direct links to those with clear disclosure that if they purchase through them, I make a commission. But that's just another way that I can make money. So affiliate marketing is also pretty cool because if you're just getting started in the side hustle space and you're like, well, I don't know if I have time to make something. Maybe you have a dietitian peer who has created a really good course who would, in that course, could help your audience. I think of dietitians in the kidney nutrition space. They have different courses based on people's needs, and a lot of them have affiliate programs where if someone refers someone to their client, they get a commission. And it's kind of a win-win-win. You win because you are connecting your clients with something that will help them and you're making money in the process. The person who created the product wins because they're getting a sale, and the client wins because they're getting something that serves them well. So I love affiliate marketing. I could talk on and on about this. I almost feel like with these Momentum Monday webinars, I feel like I should have made one on affiliate marketing, but next year. So last slide here. Anything I've been flying through different examples, tons of examples I've been throwing at you. But one of the things I want to emphasize is that really anything can be a side hustle. I've heard of dietitians doing birthday classes or birthday parties, which I think is so cool. And this would be like cooking classes for kids, but I'm like, that's so cool. Like, hey, kids, who should we hire for the birthday party? Let's hire the dietitian. I've heard of dietitians teaching mermaid swimming classes for their side hustle, selling inspirational swag, serving as an expert witness, doing meal prepping for clients, and even doing Uber because, again, your side hustle could be anything that you want it to be. So, my question for you guys, if you would like to share, I just threw a lot of stuff at you. Is there anything that stood out to you as something that you're like, yeah, that sounds really cool? If you are able to go ahead and type what you think your next side hustle could be. No commitment. I'm not going to come back later and say, you posted in my webinar. Just whatever stuck out to you, go ahead and put it in the comments. I just love to see what is interesting to you guys. So let's talk about the steps to get started, because what I just threw at you is lots of cool ideas. Okay, that's interesting, but how do we move it from, idea to actual income? So this is where the getting started checklist is going to come in. I'm going to walk through how to use it. I will be emailing this to you, so you'll have a physical copy. I highly recommend printing it out and filling it out sometime this week. If not, this is going to be a great webinar you showed up to and you learned a lot, but it just becomes an idea, right? So we want to get it from idea to income. So I highly recommend this worksheet. So, steps for getting started. So before you start, we need to consider what you want to do, why you're doing it, how you're going to get there. And so we're going to review this worksheet. That's what we're going to do. So the worksheet includes the side hustles that we included, and it actually does include a little bit more. This is actually the list of side hustles that I include in my book, Dietitian Side Hustle, that I'll be sharing with you guys in just one quick minute. So first off on the checklist is checking like, okay, what are the side hustles I want to do? I recommend selecting everything that sounds most interesting to you, but picking one to start with. If we try to do all the things, we will do none of the things well. So check off everything you want to do, but try to focus on one thing to get you started. And I see Brianna's interested in cooking classes. Kendra's interested in blogging. Woo, woo, I love blogging. Karen's interested in being a VA. So the next part is, why do you want to start a side hustle? Remember, we talked about this earlier. So there's a section here on why, and I highly recommend filling out something in the other spot because remember, this is something you're doing outside of a traditional job. Lifes, we're all short on time, we're all busy, and the stronger our why, the more likely we are to stick with it. And, I actually have a whole other webinar I've done in the past on finding your why. So, like, we could talk more about it if you guys need help, but just really having a strong foundation. For me, my why was my kids. My why was that I wanted to be present with my kids. I wanted to be able to drive them to school. I wanted to be present with them while they're still in the home. And I just felt this overwhelming, like my kids are getting so old so fast. So I had a vision board actually right behind my computer, and it had a picture. Like I shared that picture of my daughter dropping her off at school. I had some clip art on my vision board of someone dropping their kid off at school. And that was my why. When I was side hustling and working on building up my business, I would stare at that every single day and remind myself, this is why I keep going. Even when it feels like it's not working, even when it's hard, this is my why. And I'm continuing to move forwards towards it. So, anyways, fill out the other. That's the point. So, next we have on here, what do you need to do before you start? So, every side hustle is so different. And also you all have different levels of experience, right? You might be completely new to something. Like maybe you're like, oh, cooking classes sound cool, but how do I actually find a gig? So there might be things you need to learn more about. I need to learn about blank. I want to take an online course in blank. Maybe I want to work with a coach. Create a business plan, purchase equipment, or maybe something else altogether. So these are the things that you might need to do before you start. Like, for example, if you want to do food photography, you might need to have a good camera or some good lighting or something. So these are the things you need to do before you start. The next section is the skills you need to develop. And I want to emphasize that you don't need to fully develop these skills before you start. Dietitians tend to be perfectionists, and we often think we must be perfect at everything before we could possibly start. But I want you to have direction, but just continue to move forward with starting your side hustle, knowing that you're going to continue to learn things as you grow. Entrepreneurship is a journey where you continue to learn. So these are skills you develop over time, not things you have to do before you get started. So you might need to learn, how do I build an audience? Marketing, writing copy, graphic design, social media, technology, communications. If you're going to be a blogger, search engine optimization, business skills, email marketing, finance management, other. So again, learn these, but don't feel like you have to become an expert before you start. Do it as you go. So then the last piece on our getting started checklist is writing goals. And I know you guys know this, but I recommend creating SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals like we have our clients do. So creating 1, 2, 3 goals, I would say no more than three. And this again is for one specific side hustle. And I would say aim for a 90-day period. I feel like a quarter is long enough for you to actually see results and have enough time to actually do the thing and not lose interest and just forget what you're doing. So, so this is the getting started worksheet. And when we're done with this webinar, I'm going to download it, upload it, send you guys a link, and attach this. For anyone who doesn't have anyone who has an email ending in Hotmail, Verizon, Outlook, or Yahoo, I will be emailing you manually because my email system's being crazy right now. It doesn't want to send anyone an email apparently, unless you're a Gmail or a .edu or a custom domain. But that doesn't matter. It's not relevant to what we're talking about. So, anyways, I will be sending this worksheet to you later tonight. So, I want to touch base again on mindset. I know I already covered it, but I want to talk to you guys about it again because I want this webinar to be more than just, oh, that's a cool idea, Katie. I truly believe that side hustling can change your life and change other people's lives if done correctly. So, we're going to talk briefly about mindset. One of my business coaches told me with everything in life, it's 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. What does that mean? The mechanics is doing the thing. It's doing the side hustle. It's doing the cooking classes. It's being the blogger. It's being the VA. The psychology is the belief you can do it. And I will tell you, the longer I've been in the business game, the more I believe it's 1% work, 99% mindset, which is why I'm so obsessed with mindset. And so, one of the biggest things I recommend is just continuing to work on mindset, work on learning what your limiting beliefs are. And those are the beliefs that you hold that hold you back. We all have them, things that we think we're not good at. I'm not a good writer. I'm not an expert in that area. I haven't been a dietitian long enough. I'm not good enough in that area. We have limiting beliefs that hold us back. Sometimes they're conscious. If I were to ask you, you're like, oh, yeah, let me list 20 things I'm not good at. Other times they're unconscious. You don't even realize they're there. And it's these limiting beliefs that can sneak in and sabotage us and take us out before we even get started. So remember the slide I shared, whatever you believe you will achieve. And again, cheesy quote, but so relevant. And my biggest advice is continue working on mindset. Mary Poppins says anything is possible, even the impossible. If you're looking for some books to learn more, you can go to katiedodd.com. I keep dropping that link. It's my link tree. And there's a button on there that says Amazon storefront. And on my Amazon storefront, I have a whole page dedicated to books for entrepreneurs, and they're all about mindset. So, but these are two basics to get started with. One is Mindset by Carol Dweck. This is the first book I ever read on mindset. And the next one is Outwitting the Devil with Napoleon Hill, which is where I've been pulling a few quotes for this presentation today. So, moving forward, I want you all to expect greatness. Myron Golden's a really awesome business coach, and he talks about expectation in terms of outcomes. And he says that your expectations are based on what you think is going to happen. If you think that something undesirable is going to happen, it's going to lead to anxious apprehension. You are just waiting for the shoe to drop. You're waiting to fail. It makes the whole side hustle journey not fun. Or on the flip side, if you're anticipating your outcome is going to be desirable, I'm going to do this thing. I don't know how it's going to work yet, but I'm going to make the plan. I'm going to print out that getting started checklist and I'm going to do the thing. You know, don't know the timeline, don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to do it. Then you're going to have joyful expectation. You're going to have joy in the journey and be so excited because you know what's going to happen. So moving forward, I want you to expect greatness because I also want you to have joy in the side hustle journey. I don't want this to become something that feels like a drag or something you hate or building something that feels miserable. But I do want to talk about where that anxious apprehension, ooh, tongue twister. I've been recording a book for Audible, you guys, and I've been talking a lot, and I feel like my tongue is just done. So if I sound like I'm slurring my words, that's just because I've been recording hours of content. I stopped actually a few hours ago. I'm like, I got a webinar, I got to stop talking. So where does that anxious apprehension comes from? Where we're expecting something undesirable to happen. We know we're going to fail. So if that anxious apprehension stops us in our tracks, it leads to us wasting present energy on future outcomes that would likely never come to pass. Where does that anxiety typically stem from? Perfectionism. And again, I know so many dietitians struggle with this. I'm a recovering perfectionist myself, and which is why I always have to bring this up when I give this talk. I used to wear perfectionism as a badge of honor. I was so proud that everything I did was so good. Although I was never like super proud of it. I'm like, oh, it still sucks. But I would always work so hard to make everything as perfect as I could. But what I realized is that perfectionism is actually a weakness. It leads to perfection paralysis, where you just continue to reread the book, retake the course, never push publish on the website. You just can't move forward because it's not good enough and you know you're not good enough and other people are better and who do you think you are? And so you stay stuck. So I want to encourage you guys in side hustles and everything, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything. And I want you to strive for imperfection and embrace the mantra, which I teach in my world, done is better than perfect. So I do have a new badge of honor for any perfectionist in the Zoom room. Imperfectly perfect. This is what we want to strive for, being imperfect. So when it comes to this expectation, it's just this reminder that dietitian side hustlers have less time. I want you to expect greatness. I don't want you to feel super busy, but focused on what you're doing. I want you to create a concrete idea of what your future could look like, a path using the worksheet. I want you to forego perfectionism, let go of anxiety and ego, which we didn't talk about. Take imperfect action and pursue your dreams relentlessly. So as we wrap things up, I'm just going to kind of go over what we talked about. We've talked about what is a side hustle. It's anything outside of a traditional job. It's an extra stream of income. Why start a side hustle? Honestly, there's no bad why. There's no wrong reason, whether or not it's to make more money, to do something you love, to eventually leave your job. There's no wrong why. We talked about lots of different side hustle ideas. We talked essentially about the worksheet is what we talked about and some steps to get started. We're wrapping up with final tips, and I want to make sure you guys complete the worksheet when I fill it out to you. But I want to talk to you guys about a book that I've written. I keep talking about it. So I've been working all year on writing a book, and it is officially done. It was going to be launched this week, but I had some technical issues with the printers through Amazon KDP, and I had to push it back 2 weeks. I'm going to be out of town next week, so I couldn't do my launch next week, so it's pushed back 2 weeks. But I want to invite you guys to become Dietitian Side Hustle Insiders. And I'm going to tell you what that means. It's really easy. I'll drop the link below. It's just name, email. You're already on my email list, but it'll get you specific access to content for my book launch on November 19th. So I actually just got a copy of the book and it looks real good. It's almost 400 pages. It includes everything you need to know about starting a side hustle. I mean, we went through really quick a bunch of slides. The side hustle opportunity section's like, I should do the word count. It's like over 100 pages. This book is a beast. It's literally everything I've learned over my years as an entrepreneur, everything I teach, all in one book. It is available as paperback, hardback, Kindle, and Audible. I went a little crazy. But I'm just so excited about it. So I want to invite you guys to be insiders. What does that mean? So a dietitian side hustle insider, you'll get on my email list and you'll get exclusive content from me. You'll be able to purchase the book one day before the launch. So early release. You'll get sneak peek details before the book goes live. I send exclusive email content to my insiders. You'll also get front row access to my live book launch. I'm doing a book launch party on November 19th at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And during the book launch, during the party, I'm going to be giving away prizes, including $100 cash paid via PayPal, a signed copy of the book, I think a 3 months access to my membership. I've got so many cool prizes. So yeah, comment insider if you are interested in joining my book launch. Again, there's nothing you don't have to buy, right? It's just more being an insider, but you will get access to buy the book early, and it's going to provide you guys with tons of information. So I'll drop that link in one quick second. So we're almost to Q&A here, but I do want to remind you guys of my Momentum Monday series. I'm doing these webinars every other week. You can go to katiedodd.com or katiedodd.com/Mondays if you'd like. And these are the 4 remaining webinars I have between now and the end of the year. My next one's on how to make money blogging. One in December is creating AI assistance through ChatGPT. December 15th, I'm doing one on selling. It's called Selling is Helping, Learn to Sell with Confidence. And I am doing a goal setting for 2026. And I'm going to stop this real quick because I want to get my insiders link. Okay. If you guys can let me know if that link works, I'll send it in the email too. If you're like, I can't click on it right now. So anyways, I'm very excited about the book and it is coming live soon. And I know it's going to be a very valuable resource for you. So hope you join me. Final slide, live your dreams, change the world. Now I'm going to open it up for questions. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions about anything we talked about or beyond. I'm an open book and here to help you. If you want to contact me later, my email's up here, katiedoddnutrition@gmail.com. Um, on Instagram, you could follow me at Dietitian Side Hustle, but honestly, I'm more active at the Katie Dodd. That's the one I use the most. There's a Facebook group called Dietitian Side Hustle. If you're not in it, you should absolutely join it. It's really growing. I mean, there's like people are just joining like crazy, which is wonderful. I have my website, dietitiansidehustle.com, which is really meant to be a resource for you guys. There's tons of content and information on there for you guys. And then my podcast, Dietitian Side Hustle, episodes drop every week, but not last week because I was super, super sick. I did not record an episode. So, anyways, that's what I had for you guys. I hope that this was valuable. It's so good to see you all on here. But I'm Sharon. I can't see your names. Here's my book. Look how big it is. You guys can type your questions in the comments or unmute yourself. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. It's one of those things where I feel like the idea of writing a book is really cool. I joined a book writing mastermind. It's through Liz Jokowitz, the dietitian editor. It's called the Elevate Book Authors Mastermind. So I've been in this mastermind all year, and thank goodness. I would have never written this without the mastermind. Like, we're in this little Voxer group where we send each other messages. They got to hear all of my complaining. I'm like, whose idea was it to write a book? This is too much work. Because the idea is really cool, but like the actual writing. And then at the end, when we had tech issues, turns out I used the wrong font. Fonts matter. Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. Jenna, love the mindset info. That was always my biggest struggle, but something I've worked on this year a ton. Yeah. Mindset's everything. And I think oftentimes we think, once I make it big, then all my issues will be fine. I won't have problems. But I feel like mindset's this continual journey. I work with a business coach. His name's Greg Todd, and he has business coaches who are awesome. Like they write books. I don't know if you guys know Ed Mylett. He wrote The Power of One More, and amazing human. But I love when my coach shares how he has struggles with mindset. He shares how his like multi-millionaire business coaches struggle with mindset. So it's something that's honestly universal to everyone. We all, most of us, struggle with mindset. Did you self-publish? Yes, Kendra, I'm self-publishing on Amazon. So it's a whole process. I've learned so much about writing books. Like, for example, I've got my own, it's called an ISBN. So there's a specific number associated with this barcode that I bought through a company called Bowker. And so my paperback has a different barcode. My hardcover has a different barcode. Um, Kindle is a beast. Audible, Audible is a lot. But I just really wanted to make it available everywhere. There are lots of different options when it comes to publishing books. That's another side hustle we could have talked more about, but some dietitians choose to go the traditional route of having a publisher. There's lots of different things to consider, though. There's different I don't know. There's different companies out there that aren't super legit where they hire a dietitian to write a book and they don't pay them that well. And I don't know if you're in dietitian Facebook groups, like oftentimes they talk about these different companies and it's like, don't write a book with them because you don't technically own it. You're a freelancer, you're being paid one and done to write a book. Where as a self-published author or through a traditional publishing contract that you might have, you continue to get, royalties on that book. So there's lots of moving parts to writing a book, but I will say because it takes so long to do a real book, I just highly recommend either make sure you own it. Is what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Okay. I'll wait if you guys have questions. If you don't, that's totally fine. And you can hop off anytime. I'm probably gonna babble a little bit more, but I'll just tell you more about what's in my book. Because obviously you guys are here because you guys are interested in side hustles. But this book, it has a whole chapter dedicated to mindset because it's that important. We talk about the path you want to go on, whether or not you want to be a side hustler with a full-time job, side hustler with a part-time job, or go full hustler. And we talk about considerations for being an employee, like do I have to tell my boss? What am I allowed to do? We talk about the different types of freedom that being a side hustler allows you, from time freedom to financial freedom to clinical freedom. My opportunities for side hustlers goes from page 55 to 197. So it's like 150 pages where I'm talking about the most common side hustles and how to do it. What you need, how to get started, checklist. Now, of course, every single side hustle could potentially be its own book. So it's really like, here's what you need to get started. I'm pointing you in the right direction. I do have a section, it's called the Top 5 Deep Dive, where I talk about the top 5 most common dietitian side hustles, and I give a lot more detail on those. but there's like 34 plus side hustle ideas designed for dietitians. And I have a whole section on creative side hustles outside of the field of dietetics. That was fun to read. I have a chapter on Business 101 for side hustlers. So everything you need to know about, oh my gosh, let me tell you what's in this. It took a long time just to write the outline for this book because I really wanted it to be comprehensive. It does say, so it's a comprehensive guide for starting a side hustle, making more money, and loving what you do. It is comprehensive. Part of my worry is it too much? But I don't know. I felt so strongly. I'm like, I just need to provide all this information. Here's everything I want to share with people. I'm just pulling up real quick my the outline of what's inside the Business 101 chapter. Because honestly, starting a side hustle is amazing and wonderful, but it's this whole new world of stuff we didn't learn as dietitians. School taught us to be dietitians, and it's up to us to learn how to be businessmen or women. So, oh, let me go to my book outline. Oh, I'll share my screen for those of you who are better with hearing and seeing at the same time. So this isn't what it looks like in the book. This is more for me, all the stuff that's in here. So here's the top 5 side hustle deep dive: freelance writing, speaking, webinars, patient care, online courses, digital products. And then I actually broke down into 5 different buckets of like, hey, if this is what you're interested in, check out these side hustles. So writing and content creation, nutrition and wellness services, teaching, speaking, media, digital goods, physical products, business support and services. So even more than what we talked about today. Like there's a lot in here. So the business 101 section has about how to set up like your business structure from like, is this a hobby? Is this a LLC, sole prop? Who to hire for your team. We talk about taxes, legal considerations, contracts, how to find clients, to niche or not to niche. You got a niche, sneak peek. Branding, all the hats you have to wear as a business owner, building a team, AI, networking and partnerships, continuing your business education. Then we talk about money mindset, because that's huge. How to make money. I share my income reports. We talk about all the different streams of income, active, passive, what to charge, how to make more money, how to get paid. Just some of those basics of like, well, how do I actually get paid? Like, what do I need to do? How do I set this up? What's the process look like? This actually chapter walks you through the getting started checklist. I use it a lot. And then we dive into, honestly, there's a lot of mindset in this book because I want people who read this book to have success. I don't want you just to learn about a side hustle. I want you to do it. And so we really address the things that get in the way, pushing you to dream bigger. Keys to side hustle success, how to fight overwhelm, how to be laser focused, getting ideas out of your head and on paper, finding more time to do the thing. That's huge. Finding energy, because what good is time if you're so burnt out, you're fried and just want to watch TV. So we talk about how to find more energy, developing better habits, and finding joy in the journey. There's a whole chapter dedicated to failure because I think, especially as dietitians and perfectionists, we think that failure is a bad thing, and we really do everything we can to avoid it instead of embracing that failure is normal and it's a good thing, it's part of business. And there's a whole thing about how I want you to fail, which is really fun to digest, but it's really about reframing failure because it's not bad. It's actually something we celebrate because failure is good. And you'll have to read the book because that, as I say that, your stomach might twist and you'll be like, no, failure's horrible, but it's not. It's just, everyone who's ever had success has failed at some point. And then where do we go from here? The appendix is pretty cool, and I do have like in the book, there's a website to go to get like all the digital versions of the worksheets, but I've got tons of worksheets. Uncover your why, dreaming in time, an exercise for finding your strengths and weaknesses, a planner to leave your job if that's you, niching down, a business starter checklist, the getting started worksheet, which I will send you all soon, an action planner worksheet, future planning worksheet, get more time workbook, audit your habits, and then lots of suggested resources. So, anyways, that's what's inside the book. There's a lot. It's good, I promise. Spent a lot of time writing it, working with my editor. We had 4 amazing beta readers who read it and gave really amazing feedback. So I just can't wait to get this out in the world. And again, you guys want to join me as an insider, that'd be wonderful. Okay, guys, we are at the top of the hour. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you found this valuable. Again, I've got more webinars between now and the end of the year. I am grateful you guys joined me tonight. I hope you learned a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Take care, guys. Bye.